My name is Andrea Lang. I am a full-time faculty member in the departments of English and Humanities at Metropolitan Community College. I teach a large variety of classes. I teach Comp 1 and Comp 2. I teach literature, a variety of literature classes, particularly women's literature, dramatic literature, intro to literature. I also teach in the humanities department, as I mentioned, and I teach an introductory humanities course called Humanities Through the Arts. And I also teach an online film history and appreciation course. I have been at MCC full-time for 24 years, which is hard to believe because it has gone very quickly. It seems like I just arrived here a couple years ago. Before I started teaching part-time, I had a small business freelance writing, and I did some work for individuals and businesses. I did employment materials such as cover letters and resumes, brochures for companies, which I designed and I wrote. So I did some different kinds of promotional materials. I was really mainly doing that while I was trying to figure out what I actually wanted to do when I grew up. So I kind of fell into the teaching part-time actually sort of by accident. I am from Omaha, Nebraska, and I have lived here. I was born and raised here. I've lived here most of my life, which is actually kind of a surprise to me. I went to college. I went to undergraduate at Nebraska Wesleyan University, where I majored in English and Spanish. I had a double major. My initial path, which was something I wanted to do since I was a child, was to go to law school. And I applied to law school. I was accepted to 3 law schools. As a backup, I applied to graduate school in English, never imagining that I would actually do that. About 3 weeks before I was supposed to go to law school, I had an epiphany. And I realized I didn't really want to do that. And so at the absolute last minute, right before the beginning of the semester, I completely changed plans and I went to graduate school at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And still with an idea that I was going to go, back to law school, and because I took a deferment. And I almost immediately fell in love with graduate school, and so I ended up getting my master's degree in English, really a focus in mostly in literature, Renaissance, Victorian women's literature, and dramatic literature. I had many favorite teachers in my college career that I think have really ultimately led me to my teaching career, kind of inadvertently, as it turns out. I would have to start back in college. I had some really great instructors when I was in college. Dr. Roger Cunard, who was actually the first one to encourage me to go to graduate school instead of law school. And Bill Clefcorn, who was the Nebraska state poet. I took many classes with him. He was also very encouraging and really inspired me as a writer. I would say in my graduate school, my main mentor when I was in graduate school was Dr. Barbara D. Bernard. She was my women's literature professor. I took many classes with her. She was another person who I feel like, as a student, she just opened a door for me that I didn't realize I needed to go through. And she kind of blew my world open. And I think I just never looked back at that point. I never thought that I would be a teacher. I come from my mother was a teacher. She was a 3rd and 4th grade teacher. So I grew up being around educators. My dad worked at Boys Town. He worked with youth. Education was a very important thing, but I just never saw myself doing that. So it was only, I think I was, when I first started teaching at Metro part-time, I think it maybe took me a week in the classroom and before I realized, oh, this is in fact what I am supposed to do. It was a great irony, I thought, because I was just not something, I saw myself my entire childhood and high school and college as being in a courtroom. I wanted to be a criminal attorney. And I saw myself doing that. But then when I got into the classroom and it was just this motley group of students who were counting on me, who were in various states. Some of them were eager to learn, some of them were terrified. I was probably that first week of the quarter eager and terrified as well. But I remember I kept a journal that first year that I was teaching part-time, and I remember writing in it, I think I have found the path that I am supposed to take, and it's a very surprising one. What keeps me at Metro is the students. I think I get as much out of my experiences as a teacher as they do out of being a student. I learn so much from them. But I like being a source of support for them as well. And I think a lot of our students are maybe at times in their life and places in their life in which they need some support, not just educational support, but maybe just somebody who hears them. The basic human need that everybody has is to be heard and to just be there as somebody who's listening. My students have taught me the importance of resilience, or what some people call grit. I think so many of them have had challenges in their lives that I was fortunate enough not to have. And I think that they've taught me that many of them are very tough, and they don't give up. They might fall down, but they pick themselves back up. They have taught me the importance of generosity. I would like students to take away from my classes a sense of their own competence in writing. I would like them to think that I can do this, I have the tools, and I can do this for myself. I don't have to rely on somebody else. I would like them to have confidence in themselves. Like, I do have these ideas in me. I do have the means to communicate them effectively. I do have the means to seek help when I need it. I do have means to find resources that can help me if I don't know the answer. I hope that's the greatest thing that they get from the class, is that there are tools there, they know how to find them, they know how to use them, but more importantly, that they have a sense of that, yes, I'm competent and I'm confident in my writing and I can really do this. I have actually had the experience of meeting students who have told me what they remember about me. I've run into students on planes before. I would say that they tell me that I had high expectations. That's the thing I usually hear. You had very high expectations, but you were fair, and you were honest, but you were kind. I think that's usually what I have heard. And to me, I was like, yeah, I think that's a pretty fair assessment, and I think I'm proud of that. That's really what I strive. That's what I strive to impart to my students. I'm Andrea Lang, English and Humanity instructor at Metropolitan Community College.